Captain Jiho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the stars drift past the main view screen. The ship had been on patrol for 3 weeks now, moving slowly through the outer rim territories where space was dark and empty. Most of the crew found these long patrols boring, but Jiho liked the quiet time to think. Out here, far from Earth and the busy trade routes, a person could almost forget that humanity was still new to the galaxy and that most alien races feared them. The other species called humans Deathworlders, because Earth was such a dangerous planet. Where most aliens came from worlds with gentle weather and friendly animals, humans had grown up fighting hurricanes, earthquakes, predators, and diseases that would kill most other life forms in the galaxy. This made humans tough and hard to kill, which scared the peaceful alien races. They saw humans as walking weapons, creatures born from a world that tried to murder everything on it every single day. Jiho did not like being feared, but he understood why aliens felt that way. When he was young, he had read about how other species lived on their homeworlds. Some aliens came from planets where the biggest storm was like a light rain on Earth. Others had never seen a predator bigger than a small dog. One species had evolved on a world where the most dangerous thing was a plant that made you feel sleepy if you touched it. To them, humans were monsters from a nightmare world. "Captain, we are picking up something strange," said Dr. Nari Park, from her station at the communications console. Nari was the ship's expert on alien languages and had learned to speak with dozens of different species during her years in space. She was small and quiet, but Jiho trusted her skills more than anyone else on the ship. "What kind of strange?" Jiho asked, walking over to look at her screens. "It looks like a distress signal, but the language is nothing I have seen before," Nari said, frowning at the data flowing across her monitors. "The signal is weak and breaking up, but I can tell someone is asking for help." Commander Taemin Lee looked up from the tactical station where he had been reviewing security reports. Taemin was a big man with scars on his hands from his time in the Special Forces before joining the fleet. He had fought in 3 different wars and never backed down from a fight, which made him perfect for keeping the ship safe. "Could be a trap, Captain. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to lure ships into ambushes." "Maybe," Jiho said, "but we cannot ignore a real call for help." He turned back to Nari. "Can you clean up the signal and figure out what they are saying?" Nari's fingers moved quickly over her console, adjusting filters and running the alien sounds through translation programs. "I am getting some words now. They are saying 'help us' and 'under attack', and something about younglings in danger. I think younglings means children in their language." Engineer Hana Choi called out from her station near the back of the bridge. "Captain, I am reading the signal source. It is coming from the Kepler Nebula, about 6 hours away at maximum speed." Hana was the youngest member of the senior crew, but she knew more about how alien technology worked than most people twice her age. "The signal is very weak, which means either they are very far away or their transmitter is badly damaged." Jiho stared at the nebula on the star chart that appeared on the main screen. The Kepler Nebula was officially neutral space, but everyone knew that several different alien empires sent ships through there. It was the kind of place where bad things happened to ships that traveled alone. "Sir, we should be careful," Taemin said. "Our orders are to patrol this sector and report back to Fleet Command. We are not supposed to go chasing signals into disputed territory." "I know what our orders are," Jiho replied, "but I also know what humans do when someone calls for help." He had served in the fleet for 15 years and had never ignored a distress call. It did not matter if the people asking for help were human or alien. When someone was in trouble, you helped them. That was what separated humans from the predators and bullies that roamed the galaxy. Nari looked up from her console with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, I have translated more of the message. They call themselves the Villani, and they are traitors. Their convoy is under attack by something called the Korath Empire. They say the Korath are destroying their ships one by one and killing everyone aboard." The name Korath was not familiar to Jiho, but the galaxy was full of small empires and kingdoms that humans had not met yet. "Do we have any information about this Korath Empire in our databases?" Hana checked her computer systems and shook her head. "Nothing, Captain, but the Villani ship is sending technical data along with their distress call. From what I can see, they are using very old and simple technology. Their weapons are basically useless and their shields are failing. How many ships are attacking them? Taman asked. The signal mentions 3 large warships, Nari said. The Villani are calling them death machines and saying they have no chance to escape. Jiho made his decision. Set course for the Kepler Nebula. Maximum speed. Tell engineering to prepare for possible combat. Sir, I have to warn you again, Taman said. If we enter that nebula and get into a fight with unknown aliens, we could start a war. Fleet Command will not be happy if we create an interstellar incident. Let me worry about Fleet Command, Jiho said. Right now, there are people dying out there and asking for our help. We are going to answer that call. The Indomitable turned toward the nebula and jumped to high speed. The ship was a heavy cruiser, built for long patrols and tough fights. It carried enough weapons to destroy most alien warships and armor thick enough to survive almost any attack. More importantly, it carried a crew of humans who had grown up on a death world and learned never to give up. As they traveled through hyperspace toward the distress signal, Nari continued working to understand more of the Villani language. She learned that the ship calling for help was carrying civilian families, including many children. The Villani were peaceful traders who had no military ships or weapons. They made their living by carrying goods between different worlds and had never hurt anyone. Captain, I am getting more details about the attack, Nari said. The Karath ships appeared without warning and started destroying the Villani convoy. They are not trying to steal the cargo or capture the ships. They are just killing everyone for no reason. This made Jiho angry. He had seen enough senseless violence in his years in space to know that some species enjoyed hurting others. Pirates who stole cargo were bad enough, but aliens who killed just for fun were something else entirely. They were predators, and humans had spent millions of years learning how to deal with predators. How much longer until we reach them? He asked Hana. 4 hours, Captain. But sir, I should tell you that the Villani signal is getting weaker. Their ship is taking more damage. Can we go any faster? Not without burning out the engines, sir. Jiho nodded and settled into his command chair to wait. 4 hours felt like forever when people were dying, but there was nothing else they could do except push the ship as hard as they dared. He thought about the Villani families trapped on a dying ship, while alien warships hunted them for sport. It reminded him of stories his grandfather had told about Earth's history, when humans had to fight against bullies and tyrants who thought might made right. The difference was that now humans were the ones with the might, and they were going to use it to protect the innocent. The Korath Empire was about to learn what happened when you threatened helpless people within range of a human warship. They were about to discover why the galaxy feared the Deathworlders. The Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler Nebula and immediately began scanning for the source of the distress signal. What they found made the entire bridge crew go silent with shock and anger. 3 massive alien warships hung in space around a much smaller vessel that was clearly dying. The little ship's hull was torn open in dozens of places, atmosphere and debris streaming out into the void like blood from a wounded animal. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Soman Yang from the tactical station. Soman was normally calm and professional, but seeing the one-sided slaughter happening in front of them had shaken her badly. "They're just playing with them." Captain Jiho Kim watched the main screen and felt his jaw clench with rage. The 3 alien ships were enormous, each one at least twice the size of the Indomitable. They had enough firepower to destroy the little Villani trader in seconds, but instead they were taking their time. As he watched, one of the big ships fired a single weapon at the Villani vessel, carefully aimed to cause damage without destroying it completely. The aliens were torturing their victims, making the death last as long as possible. "Sir, I am reading life signs aboard the Villani ship," reported medic Kyung Shin from her medical station. "About 40 individuals, including several that register as very young. Their life support is failing, and many of them are badly injured." Dr. Nari Park was working frantically at her console, trying to establish communication with both the attackers and their victims. "Captain, I have identified the attacking ships. The design matches what we know about the Korath Empire from the Volani transmission. Each ship is carrying about 3,000 crew members and enough weapons to level a city. Commander Taemin Lee was running tactical analysis on the enemy vessels. Sir, this is going to be a problem. Those ships outgun us by a factor of 10 to 1. Their shields are military grade and their armor is thick enough to stop our main weapons. We cannot win a straight fight against all three of them. Jiho knew. Taemin was right, but he also knew that sometimes the right thing to do was not the smart thing to do. Open a channel to the Korath ships, let me talk to them. Channel open, sir, Nari said. Korath vessels, this is Captain Jiho Kim of the Terran Defense Force ship Indomitable. You are attacking an unarmed civilian vessel in neutral space. Stop your attack immediately and withdraw from this area. The response came back in accented but clear human language. The voice was deep and rough, like someone gargling with gravel. Little Deathworlder, you amuse us. We are Commander Vokrath of the Korath Imperial Navy. You will turn your tiny ship around and leave, or we will add you to our target practice. I am giving you one chance to stop this attack and leave peacefully, Jiho said. The ship you are attacking has done nothing to deserve this treatment. Laughter came through the communication system, harsh and cruel. Deathworlder, you think because your species is feared that we will run from one small ship? We have 3 dreadnoughts and you have nothing. Leave now or die with the prey animals. Jiho looked around the bridge at his crew. Soman had her hands on the weapons controls, ready to fight. Taemin was calculating firing solutions and escape routes. Hana was preparing the engines for combat maneuvers. Kyung was getting medical supplies ready for casualties. Sergeant Doyen Kang had arrived on the bridge with a team of Marines, all of them armed and ready for anything. Every single person on the bridge was prepared to take on impossible odds to save the innocent Volani. Close the channel, Jiho ordered. Then he turned to Soman. Move us between the Korath ships and the Volani vessel. All weapons ready, shields up. Sir, are you sure about this? Taemin asked. Those ships can destroy us in minutes. Maybe, Jiho said, but they have never fought humans before. They think they know what to expect because they have heard stories about Deathworlders. Let us show them what those stories really mean. The Indomitable moved forward and positioned itself between the hunters and their prey. The little human ship looked tiny compared to the massive Korath dreadnoughts, like a guard dog standing up to 3 wolves. But the crew was not afraid. They had grown up on Earth where everything was trying to kill them from the day they were born. Fighting impossible odds was just another day at the office for humans. Korath vessels, you will have to go through us to finish your attack, Jiho announced over the open channel. I suggest you find easier prey somewhere else. The Korath response was immediate and violent. All 3 dreadnoughts opened fire at once, sending enough energy weapons fire to melt a small moon straight at the Indomitable. But Jiho had been expecting this. The moment the enemy weapons lit up, he gave the order that would shock both his enemies and the aliens he was trying to save. All ahead full, straight at the lead ship. Ramming speed. Instead of trying to dodge or retreat, the Indomitable accelerated, directly toward the largest Korath vessel while firing every weapon it had. This was not normal space combat tactics. Most alien species fought by staying far apart and trading long-range shots until one side gave up or was destroyed. But humans had learned their fighting style on a world where predators came at you, with teeth and claws, where the only way to survive was to hit first and hit hard. The sudden charge caught the Korath completely off guard. Their weapons fire went wide as their targeting computers struggled to track a ship that was moving straight at them instead of trying to get away. The Indomitable's armor held under the enemy fire, taking damage but not stopping. Soman fired the main guns at point-blank range, sending nuclear-tipped missiles and particle beams straight into the lead dreadnought's shields. Their forward shields are down, Soman shouted over the noise of alarms and weapon fire. Target, their engine section. The Indomitable rolled and twisted like a fighter instead of a heavy cruiser, using maneuvers that would have killed most alien crews, but only made the humans fight better. Hana pushed the engines past their safety limits while Taemin coordinated defensive fire against incoming missiles. The ship shook and sparked as enemy weapons found their mark, but the crew kept fighting. Sir, the Korath ships are trying to surround us, Soman reported. Let them come, Jiho said. Doyun, prepare boarding parties. If we get close enough to their ships, we are going inside. Doyun grinned and checked his weapons. Human Marines were legendary throughout the galaxy for their willingness to board enemy ships and fight in close combat. Most aliens found the idea of hand-to-hand fighting terrifying, but humans had been doing it since they lived in caves. The battle continued for 20 minutes, with the small human ship dancing between the three massive dreadnoughts like a bee attacking bears. The Korath had superior numbers and firepower, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Humans fought like the predators from their homeworld, using speed and aggression to overcome larger opponents. Finally, Soman found the opening she had been waiting for. "Captain, I have a clear shot at their reactor core." "Take it," Jiho ordered. The Indomitable's main gun fired a sustained beam directly into the lead dreadnought's engine section. The alien ship's reactor went critical and exploded, taking half the vessel with it. The other two Korath ships suddenly found themselves facing a human crew that had just proven they could kill something 10 times their size. "This is impossible," came the panicked voice of the surviving Korath commander. "You are just one ship. How are you doing this?" "We are humans," Jiho replied simply. "We do not give up, and we do not leave people to die." The remaining Korath ships began to retreat, moving away from the Indomitable as fast as their engines could carry them. They had come here expecting easy prey, and found instead a pack of Deathworlders who fought like demons. It was not a mistake they wanted to make twice. "Should we pursue them, sir?" Soman asked. "No," Jiho said. "Let them run. We have more important work to do." He turned to Nari. "Open a channel to the Villani ship. Let them know we are here to help." The response from the damaged trader came immediately, the alien voice filled with gratitude and amazement. "Brave humans, we cannot believe you saved us. We thought we were dead for certain. How can we ever thank you?" "Just stay alive," Jiho replied. "We are coming alongside to offer medical assistance and repairs. Do not be afraid. We are here to help." As the Indomitable moved toward the damaged Villani vessel, the crew prepared to meet their first peaceful alien contact. None of them knew that this moment would change the course of galactic history, turning humanity from feared Deathworlders into the protectors of the innocent throughout the stars. The rescued Villani ship limped alongside the Indomitable for 3 days, while the human crew worked to repair the damage from the Korath attack. Captain Jiho Kim had never seen injuries like the ones medic Kyung Shin found when she boarded the alien vessel. The Korath had not been trying to kill their victims quickly. They had been torturing them, using weapons designed to cause maximum pain while keeping the targets alive as long as possible. The Villani themselves were unlike any species humans had encountered before. They were tall and thin with silver skin, and large dark eyes that seemed to hold all the sadness in the galaxy. Their captain, an elderly being named Thalar, spoke in whispers because the Korath had damaged his vocal cords with sonic weapons. Through Dr. Nari Park's translation work, the humans learned that this attack was not unusual for the Korath Empire. "They hunt us for sport," Thalar explained during a meeting in the Indomitable's conference room. His injured throat made every word painful, but he insisted on telling his story. "My people are traitors. We have no weapons, no soldiers, no way to fight back. The Korath know this, and they use us for target practice. They call it prey running, and they think it is entertaining." Admiral Minho Jeon received the full report from the Indomitable while sitting in his office at Fleet Command on Earth. He was a small, quiet man who had served in the Terran Defense Force for 30 years, working his way up from a junior officer to the leader of humanity's space navy. He had fought in the First Contact Wars when humans met hostile aliens, and he had negotiated peace treaties with species that wanted to be friends. But he had never heard anything like what Captain Kim was describing. "Sir, the Villani have given us detailed records of Korath activities throughout this sector," Jiho reported over the long-range communication system. "They have documentation of attacks on 17 different species over the past 5 years. The Korath are not conquering territory or stealing resources. They are hunting sentient beings for entertainment." Admiral Jeon studied the files that had been transmitted with the report. The evidence was overwhelming and horrifying. The Korath Empire had turned genocide into a recreational activity. They would find peaceful species, declare their territory to be hunting preserves, and then send warships to kill anyone who could not fight back. According to the Villani records, millions of innocent beings had died in these attacks. Admiral, there is more, Jiho continued. The Villani have shared information from their trade network. At least 40 species in this region of space live, in constant fear of Korath hunting parties. The Galactic Council knows about the attacks but cannot stop them, because the Council Charter forbids military action. This was the problem with the Galactic Council, Admiral John thought. The organization had been created by peaceful species who believed that all conflicts could be solved through discussion and compromise. It worked well when dealing with civilized beings who shared those values, but it was useless against predators, like the Korath who only understood force. "What is your recommendation, Captain?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, the Villani have formally requested that humanity intervene on behalf of all the peaceful species in this sector. They say that only the Deathworlders have the strength to stand against the Korath Empire." Admiral Jion closed his eyes and thought about the decision he was being asked to make. If humanity got involved in this conflict, it would mean war with an unknown alien empire. There would be casualties, possibly heavy ones. The politicians back on Earth would not be happy about starting a fight with aliens they had never heard of. But there was another side to consider. "Stand by, Captain," the Admiral said. "I need to consult with the High Command." The emergency meeting of the Terran High Command was held in the secure conference room deep beneath Fleet Headquarters. Present were Admiral Jion, General Woojin Park, who commanded the Marine Corps, Defense Minister Yunji Lee, and Captain Rena Cho, who had been recalled from her patrol to represent the carrier fleet. These 4 people made the decisions that would determine how humanity dealt with threats to Earth and its allies. "The situation is clear," General Park said after reviewing the Villani evidence. "The Korath Empire is committing systematic genocide against peaceful species. If we do nothing, millions more will die." "But we have to consider the bigger picture," Defense Minister Lee replied. "We are still new to the galaxy. If we attack the Korath without provocation, other species might see us as the aggressors. We could find ourselves fighting multiple enemies instead of just one." Captain Cho looked up from the tactical reports she had been studying. "Ma'am, with respect, the Korath have already provoked us. They attacked the Villani while those beings were under our protection. According to space law, that makes it an act of war against humanity." Admiral John had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up. "There is something else we need to consider. Dr. Park has finished translating the ancient Villani historical records. According to those documents, the Korath have been gathering intelligence on every species in the galaxy, including us. They have detailed files on human military capabilities, and they have been planning to eventually move against Earth." This changed everything. General Park leaned forward in his chair. "Are you saying they intend to attack our homeworld?" According to the Villani records, the Korath see humanity as the ultimate prey. They think that hunting Deathworlders would be the greatest sport possible. They have been building up their fleet and preparing for an assault on our solar system. The room went silent as the implications sank in. The Korath Empire was not just a threat to alien species. They were planning to hunt humans for sport, to attack Earth and kill billions of people for their entertainment. It was an act of such evil that even the hardened military officers had trouble accepting it. "How long before they are ready to attack us?" Defense Minister Lee asked. "The Villani estimate they need another 2 years to complete their preparations," Admiral John replied. "They want to make sure they have enough ships to overwhelm our defenses." General Park stood up and walked to the star map on the wall. "Then, we have a choice. We can wait for them to attack us when they are ready, or we can hit them first while they are still preparing. There is a third option," Captain Cho said. "We can do what the Villani asked and protect all the peaceful species in that sector. If we stop the Korath from hunting innocent aliens, we also stop them from gathering the resources they need to attack Earth." Admiral John looked around the table at his colleagues. These were good people who had spent their lives defending humanity and its values. They understood that sometimes you had to fight to protect the innocent even when the cost was high. "I need a unanimous decision," the Admiral said. "If we do this, We do it together. Defense Minister Lee was the first to speak. The Korath have declared war on everything we believe in. They hunt children for sport and plan to do the same to our families. I vote for military action. General Park nodded. The Marine Corps stands ready. We can have assault divisions deployed within a week. Captain Cho smiled grimly. The carrier fleet is at your disposal, Admiral. Let us show these predators what happens when they threaten the innocent. Admiral Jian stood up and activated the communication system that would connect him to every human military base and warship in the galaxy. This is Admiral Jian to all commands. Effective immediately, the Terran Defense Force is mobilizing for war against the Korath Empire. All leave is cancelled. All ships are to report to their assigned battle stations, and all Marine units are to prepare for extended combat operations. He paused and looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth, thinking about all the peaceful worlds that were counting on humanity to save them. The Korath Empire has committed acts of genocide against innocent species and threatened our homeworld. They have chosen to make themselves the enemies of every decent being in the galaxy. We are going to show them why that was a mistake. Within hours, the largest military mobilization in human history was underway. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels switched to producing warships. Marine training centers began preparing soldiers for combat against alien enemies. Intelligence services started gathering every scrap of information about Korath technology and tactics. The peaceful species of the galaxy had asked the Deathworlders for help, and they were about to get it. The Korath Empire had no idea what was coming for them, but they were about to learn why humans were feared throughout the stars. The hunt was about to become a war, and the predators were about to become the prey. The human war fleet that assembled at the edge of Korath space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Over 400 warships hung in the darkness between the stars, each one designed by engineers who had grown up on a world that tried to kill them every day. These were not the elegant vessels built by peaceful species who saw war as an unfortunate necessity. These were weapons forged by Deathworlders who understood that sometimes violence was the only language predators could understand. Admiral Minho Joun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dreadnought Retribution, and watched the fleet reports scroll across his screens. Every ship was ready for battle. Every crew was eager to face the enemy. He had served in space for 30 years, but he had never seen morale this high among human forces. The crews knew they were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting to protect innocent beings who could not protect themselves. Captain Jiwoo Han brought her stealth destroyer Shadow Strike alongside the flagship to report on her reconnaissance missions into Korath territory. Jiwoo was small and quiet, the kind of person you might not notice in a crowd, but she was the best intelligence officer in the fleet. For 2 weeks, she had been leading secret missions deep into enemy space to gather information about Korath military capabilities. Admiral, we have completed our survey of 17 Korath systems, Jiwoo reported as she stood in the Retribution's briefing room. What we found is worse than we expected. The holographic display in the center of the room lit up with images from the stealth missions. Admiral Jian and his staff watched in growing horror as the pictures showed the true extent of Korath cruelty. There were massive prison ships filled with captured aliens from dozens of different species. There were hunting vessels equipped with torture chambers where Korath nobles entertained themselves by causing pain to helpless victims. There were recreational facilities where wealthy Korath citizens paid to watch enslaved beings fight each other to the death. My God, whispered General Wu Jin Park, who had joined the fleet with his marine divisions. They have turned genocide into an industry. Captain Rena Cho, commander of the assault carrier Vengeance, studied the tactical data with professional interest. How many ships are we looking at, Captain Han? The Korath have approximately 800 warships divided among their various fleets, Jiwoo replied. Most of them are concentrated around their 3 main worlds, but they have hunting groups scattered throughout the sector. The good news is that they do not expect us to attack. They think humans are too few in number and too far away to threaten them. Major Sun Ho Kim, leader of the elite orbital drop marines, looked at the prison ship images with anger burning in his eyes. Admiral, we need to hit those prison ships first. There are thousands of innocent beings aboard them, and the Korath We'll probably try to kill the prisoners if they think they are going to lose the war. Admiral John nodded. Agreed. Captain Han, I want you to lead a stealth strike against the prison ships while the main fleet engages their military forces. Get those people out of there. Yes, sir, Jiwoo replied. My ships can slip past their defenses and evacuate the prisoners before they know what is happening. Commander Yuki Nam, who led the fighter squadrons, had been studying the technical specifications of Korath warships. Admiral, their ships are heavily armed but not very maneuverable. They are designed for attacking defenseless targets, not for fighting against an enemy that can shoot back. Our fighters should be able to outfly them easily. This was typical of predator species, Admiral Jian thought. The Korath had gotten used to hunting prey that could not fight back, so they had never developed the skills needed for real combat. They were about to learn the difference between murder and warfare. What about their ground forces? General Park asked. Weak, Major Kim replied. The Korath prefer to bombard planets from orbit, rather than land troops and fight on the surface. Their soldiers are equipped for crowd control and intimidation, not for fighting against trained enemies. Admiral Jian looked around the briefing room at his senior officers. These were the best warriors humanity had produced, men and women who had trained their entire lives for moments like this. They were Deathworlders who had been forged by a planet that showed no mercy, and now they were going to show the Korath what that really meant. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our mission, the Admiral said. The Korath Empire has spent years terrorizing innocent species for their entertainment. They have murdered millions of beings who never had a chance to defend themselves. They have planned to do the same thing to our homeworld and our families. Today that ends. He activated the fleet communication system so that every ship could hear his words. This is Admiral Jeon to all vessels. In 1 hour, we will begin our attack on the Korath Empire. We are not here for conquest or revenge. We are here to stop a genocide and protect those who cannot protect themselves. Show these predators what happens when they threaten the innocent. The human fleet spread out across space as each ship moved to its assigned position. The dreadnoughts like Retribution took point, their massive guns ready to engage the enemy's largest vessels. The assault carriers like Vengeance launched clouds of fighters and bombers that would sweep ahead of the main force. The cruisers and destroyers formed a protective screen around the capital ships while preparing to hunt down smaller enemy vessels. Captain Jiwoo Han led her stealth squadron toward the Korath prison ships, using advanced cloaking technology to slip past enemy sensors. Her ships were invisible to normal detection methods, allowing them to move freely through enemy territory. The Shadow Strike and her sister ships had been specifically designed for missions like this, carrying powerful weapons and advanced rescue equipment. Captain, we are approaching the first prison facility, reported her tactical officer. I am reading over 2,000 life forms aboard that ship, representing at least 15 different species. Any Korath guards? Jiwoo asked. About 50, concentrated near the control center. The prisoners are being held in the lower sections without any security except locked doors. Jiwoo smiled coldly. The Korath were so confident in their superiority that they barely bothered to guard their victims. They were about to learn that confidence could be a fatal weakness. Launch the rescue teams, she ordered. I want those prisoners evacuated in 30 minutes. Human Marines in powered armor materialized aboard the Korath prison ship using advanced teleportation technology. The alien guards never knew what hit them as the humans moved through the vessel like ghosts, stunning or killing anyone who tried to resist. Within minutes, they had secured the control center and begun opening the prison cells. The aliens they found inside were in terrible condition. Many had been tortured for the entertainment of their captors. Others had been forced to fight each other in gladiatorial contests. All of them were starving and sick, barely alive after months or years of abuse. But when they saw the human Marines coming to rescue them, hope returned to their eyes. Do not be afraid, the Marine team leader said through his translator unit. We are here to take you to safety. The nightmare is over. Similar scenes were playing out throughout Korath space as human stealth teams hit every prison ship and slave facility they could find. Thousands of innocent beings who had given up hope of ever seeing their homes again were suddenly free, protected by warriors from a species they had only heard about in whispered stories. Meanwhile, The main human fleet was moving toward the Korath homeworld, ready to deliver the final blow against an empire built on cruelty and murder. The Deathworlders were coming, and they were bringing justice with them. Admiral Jian watched the tactical display as his ships closed in on their targets. The Korath still did not know what was happening. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. Their communications were normal. Their patrols were reporting that all was quiet. They had no idea that their empire was about to fall. "All ships, prepare for battle," the admiral ordered. "It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you hunt the innocent." The Korath homeworld had never been attacked in the 500 years since the empire was founded. The planet hung in space like a dark jewel, covered with cities that celebrated violence and arenas where innocent beings died for entertainment. The orbital defense platforms had been built more for show than for actual protection, because the Korath had never imagined that anyone would dare to challenge them in their own system. Admiral Minho Jaeon stood on the bridge of the Retribution as the human fleet emerged from hyperspace directly above the Korath capital. 400 warships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the planet like an iron fist. The sight was terrifying even to the humans who had planned it. This was the largest battle fleet in human history, assembled for the single purpose of ending the Korath Empire forever. "Sir, we are receiving panicked communications from the surface," Dr. Nari Park reported from her station aboard the flagship. "The Korath are demanding to know who we are and what we want. Open a channel to all Korath vessels and planetary installations," Admiral John ordered. "I want everyone to hear this." When the communication system activated, the Admiral's voice reached every corner of the Korath system. His words were translated into perfect Korath language, ensuring that no one could claim they did not understand. "This is Admiral Jian of the Terran Defense Force. You have committed acts of genocide against peaceful species throughout this sector of space. You have enslaved innocents, tortured children, and turned murder into entertainment. You have threatened our homeworld and planned to hunt our families for sport. We are here to end your empire and bring justice to those you have wronged. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Resist and face the consequences of angering a death world." The response came from the largest orbital fortress, spoken by someone who was clearly the military commander of the system. "Deathworlders, you are either very brave or very stupid. We have 800 ships to your 400, and this is our home system. You cannot win this battle." Admiral Jian almost smiled at the aliens' confidence. The Korath still thought this was going to be a normal space battle, fought according to the civilized rules that most species followed. They had no idea that humans had never learned to fight in a civilized manner. "Your ships are designed to hunt unarmed civilians," the Admiral replied. "Ours are designed to kill things that are trying to kill us. You are about to learn the difference." The Korath response was immediate and predictable. Every defensive platform, orbital station, and warship in the system opened fire at once. The space around the human fleet lit up with energy weapons, missiles, and plasma bolts as the aliens tried to destroy the invaders with overwhelming firepower. It was exactly what Admiral Jian had expected them to do. "All ships, execute battle. Plan Alpha," he ordered calmly. "Show them how Deathworlders fight." What happened next became known throughout the galaxy as the Battle of the Predator's Den, and it changed forever how alien species thought about human warfare. Instead of spreading out and trading long-range shots like civilized beings, the human fleet did something that shocked both enemies and neutral observers who were monitoring the battle. They charged. 400 human warships accelerated straight toward the Korath defenses, using the one tactic that no alien military had ever encountered. While the enemy was still trying to target them at long range, the human ships closed to point-blank distance and began tearing the Korath fleet apart, with weapons designed for close combat. Captain Jiho Kim led the first wave in his cruiser, Indomitable, diving straight into the middle of the enemy formation like a shark attacking a school of fish. His crew fought with the controlled fury that had made humans feared throughout the galaxy, turning their ship into a weapon that struck again and again without mercy. "Sir, 3 Korath dreadnoughts are moving to surround us," Commander Taemin Lee reported from the tactical station. "Let them come," Jiho replied. "Soman, target their reactor cores. Hana, give me everything the engines have. We are going through them, not around them. The Indomitable accelerated to ramming speed and smashed through the enemy formation like a battering ram. Human weapons tore through Korath shields and armor that had been designed to intimidate prey species, not to stop determined predators. Within minutes, 2 of the enemy dreadnoughts were drifting wrecks and the third was trying desperately to escape. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as human ships demonstrated why they were called Deathworlders. Captain Rena Chose. Assault carrier Vengeance launched wave after wave of fighters that swarmed over the enemy like angry insects. Commander Yuki Nam led her squadron in attacks that treated ramming as a standard tactic, using their ships as guided missiles when conventional weapons were not enough. Major Sunho Kim's orbital drop marines did something that no alien military had ever attempted. They boarded enemy ships through hull breaches, fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors and engineering sections. Most alien species found the idea of close combat terrifying, but humans had been doing it since they lived in caves and fought with clubs and stones. "Sir, the enemy command ship is requesting to speak with you," Nari reported as the battle raged around them. "Put them through," Admiral Jeon said. The voice that came through the communication system was filled with panic and disbelief. "How are you doing this? We have superior numbers, superior firepower, superior technology. You should not be winning this battle." "You made one mistake," the Admiral replied as he watched another Korath ship explode on the main screen. "You thought this was going to be a battle. For us, this is pest control." The Korath defense began to collapse as human ships methodically destroyed everything that offered resistance. The aliens had been so used to fighting helpless prey that they had never learned to deal with an enemy that fought back with intelligence and determination. Their formation fell apart, their communications broke down, and their commanders began giving contradictory orders. Captain Ji Woo-han completed her mission to rescue the prisoners and turned her stealth squadron against the Korath supply lines. Her ships appeared out of nowhere to destroy ammunition depots and fuel stations, cutting off the resources that the enemy fleet needed to continue fighting. By the time the Korath realized what was happening, it was too late to stop her. Third Tro. Battle lasted 6 hours from start to finish. When it was over, the Korath fleet was either destroyed or fleeing in panic toward the outer edges of the system. The orbital defenses were silent wreckage drifting in space. The planet below was defenseless, its population cowering in their cities while human ships maintained orbit overhead. "Sir, we are receiving a surrender signal from the planetary government," Nari reported. Admiral Jeon nodded. "Tell them to stand down all remaining military forces and prepare to receive our occupation teams. Anyone who cooperates will be treated fairly. Anyone who resists will be destroyed." The surrender of the Korath homeworld marked the effective end of their empire. Within days, human forces were liberating prison camps throughout Korath space and freeing millions of enslaved beings. The alien species that had lived in terror for so long could hardly believe that their nightmare was finally over. General Woojin Park established military government on the captured worlds, while teams of human investigators documented the full extent of Korath crimes. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. The Empire had been responsible for the deaths of over 50 million innocent beings across dozens of species. They had turned torture and murder into an art form, creating new methods of causing pain for their entertainment. Captain Ji-ho Kim found himself assigned to escort former prisoners back to their homeworlds. The Villani Captain Thalar, whose distress call had started this war, wept when he saw his family again, after months of believing they were dead. "How can we ever repay what you have done for us?" Thalar asked as his ship prepared to leave for home. "Just live free and happy lives," Ji-ho replied. "That is all the payment we need." The news of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy faster than light itself. The peaceful species that made up the Galactic Council could barely comprehend what had happened. The Deathworlders had destroyed an entire empire in less than a month, something the Council had been unable to do in decades of trying. Formal alliance requests began arriving at Earth from dozens of worlds that wanted human protection. The galaxy's predator species suddenly became very quiet and peaceful. unwilling to risk the attention of beings who had just demonstrated their ability to end civilizations. Admiral John stood in his office aboard the Retribution and looked out at the stars that now held a very different meaning. Humanity was no longer just another species trying to find its place in the galaxy. They had become the guardians of the innocent, the protectors of those who could not protect themselves. Doctor. Nari Park brought him the final casualty reports from the war. Human losses had been surprisingly light, considering the scope of the conflict. The Deathworlder advantages in technology, tactics, and sheer determination had proven decisive against an enemy that relied on intimidation rather than skill. Admiral, we are receiving a priority message from Earth, Nari said. The President wants to know what our next assignment should be.